Hello, and welcome to our first virtual mobility meetup. Wish I could say it's good to see everybody. I hope you can see me, but it's good to see that we have plenty of attendees and plenty of people on this. So I know we have those who have attended a mobility meetup before and those who haven't. So let me start off by just introducing myself and talk a little bit about how we're going to do this differently than a normal meetup would go. So my name is Devin O'Reilly. I'm the Director of Entrepreneurship for the Detroit Regional Chamber. And also the Chamber is a partner with PlanetM in the PlanetM landing zone, which is where kind of the vessel where we hold these meetups. The PlanetM landing zone, just to give you some idea and context, is a physical space that was launched about 2.5 years ago. Again, in conjunction with PlanetM and the Detroit Regional Chamber at the WeWork location in downtown Detroit. And it was created as a physical space for the world's best mobility startups to connect with the automotive and technology ecosystem here in Detroit and in Southeast Michigan. And so we invite startup companies in all different mobility sectors. We invite major corporations to come connect, use the space, interact with each other, and create these natural collisions. Obviously, that's become a little bit harder. And so one of our key pieces for the landing zone was the mobility meetups, where we brought together almost 100 attendees and individuals at the WeWork space and at other spaces, again, to connect, to hear from industry experts, to hear from stakeholders, and to enjoy some drinks and food. And so we thought that we would try and do this in a virtual format. And so we're going to try and do that today. And so let me kind of walk through what that's going to look like and what our agenda is going to look like. So once we kind of dispatch the pleasantries and I kind of give you the rundown, we're going to be joined by Mark Delaverne from the City of Detroit, the Chief Mobility Officer at the City of Detroit. And Mark and his team are working on some incredibly interesting, incredibly impactful things related to the City of Detroit and mobility. And so we're going to talk to Mark. During my initial conversation with Mark, attendees, so all of you, are going to have a chance to ask questions. And so you'll notice that you have a question box on the right side of your screen, and you can use that to ask questions during Mark and I's discussion. And so we encourage you to ask questions. I've got two really great colleagues on with me. And so Kate Partington from PlanetM is going to be monitoring those questions, collecting collecting some of those questions, and then I'm going to kind of create kind of a dialogue with Mark. Once we do that, we're going to switch into our curated and facilitated networking. So we're going to be using a hand-raising feature that we have in the GoToWebinar that'll allow people to raise your hand and share a little bit about what your company is doing, what you're working on, who you are, make an ask of the group. We wanted to make sure that this event had the opportunity to be interactive and to allow the networking that we have come to really appreciate with the mobility meetups, allow us to do that here. And so we're going to have the opportunity to share and to allow people to kind of talk about what they do and what they're working on in the spirit of connecting everyone. And then going forward after this, we want to try and make sure that there's an opportunity to share your contact information. So later on in the program, we're going to offer you an opportunity to say if you want us to share your contact info with the other attendees on here, in the hopes that, again, we can create some of those natural collisions, those natural interactions that happen every day at our PlanetM landing zone, and hope that they can also happen virtually for the time being. And so Catherine Snorrison from PlanetM will also be joining us later on to talk about or to facilitate that. So in the true spirit of the landing zone and what we do with our mobility meetups, I hope, we're doing this after 4 o'clock on a Thursday. I'm hoping that, everybody can grab a drink, grab some snacks. I've got my Bell's Two Hearted, which is what you can usually find at the mobility meetups. And so I hope that you're able to grab a drink, grab a snack, and enjoy the meetup. What I'd like to do, we're still trying to bring Mark on. So what I want to do for the time being is maybe Catherine from PlanetM could come on, and she was going to share a little bit about PlanetM a little bit later in the program. But while we have her here, we'd love Catherine to share a little bit about your work and PlanetM now.
Yeah, sure. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for spending time with us today at this virtual mobility meetup. Like Devin said, it's really exciting to move online and still connect with everyone while we're working remote. So I'll talk a little bit about PlanetM. Some of you know us really well, so this will be you know what we're talking about. So PlanetM started in 2016 as a brand campaign for the state of Michigan. And then 2017, it also grew into a business development platform. So we really act as a concierge and a way to connect mobility companies from around the world and here in our own backyard to the Michigan mobility ecosystem. And I recognize a lot of the names on the attendee list, and we've really loved working with you guys over the past few years. A lot of our work focuses on company connections. So when I say concierge, I really mean it. For you to reach out to the PlanetM team, help us understand a little bit more about your mobility company and who you can get connected to here in Michigan to help you grow as a company. And we've been tracking those connections over the last few years, and we've actually facilitated over 5,000 connections, and we track every single one. We're very diligent about that because we want to know which connections are useful and which ones lead to success, so we can continue to continue those efforts. And so we've also been able to track that through our connections, we've been able to facilitate over 90 million in facilitated revenue. So if we connect two companies and a contract happens, we love to hear about that and track that. Or if we invest in a pilot and other people come in and invest as well, we track that as well. So we focus a lot on company connections and getting you integrated into the Michigan mobility ecosystem. And this is one of those examples through the virtual mobility meetup. Looks a little bit different than it has in the past. And then we also focus a lot on technology activation. So we believe and we have seen that Michigan is the place to test and pilot your mobility technology, bring it to a test track, bring it into the real world. And we've been able to support over 80 pilots across the state of Michigan. And we just closed round 6 of our pilot grant that we've launched over the past few years, and we'll have another round open in the fall that we'll hope you'll learn about and apply for then. And then we have we're continuing to support testing as well. So if you're a mobility company out there and you want to test here in Michigan, we have some fantastic test tracks. ACM, M-City, we work with MUASC on drone testing. And so we will cover 75% of the cost if you're accepted into that program. So a lot of our work is focused on company connections and technology activation. And we're really proud of working with many of you who are on the call today to make that happen. And Devin, would you like me to have people raise their hand now? Or do you want to continue with interviewing Mark?
Sounds like we're just about ready to get Mark on. I think that what we can encourage people to do is to start to submit questions. So as I mentioned, there's a question feature. We don't have a ton yet, so if there's questions that people want to submit for Mark, anything you'd like to ask, I'm sure there's a lot of uncertainty now, but we're hoping he's going to be able to provide some clarity on that. So we're just waiting for just a minute or two for him to come on. But yeah, I think it's really cool. Obviously, what PlanetM does, and I think Catherine, why don't we talk for a minute and just talk to you about how PlanetM is repositioning themselves, and you mentioned the different grant opportunities.
Sure,
what is your team? Yeah, what is your team thinking in terms of pivots and strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. Like many of you out there, we've had to pivot as well. And so one of the ways that we've done that is through our grant program. And so like I said, we just closed round 6, and typically our grant program doesn't have a focus beyond mobility, but with everything that's happening in the world and here in Michigan, we decided to focus round 6 of our pilot grant on COVID challenges that focus on mobility. And so we received 98 applications while that was open for 2 weeks. And we narrowed it down this week to the finalists, and we'll actually be notifying the winners of that round tomorrow. So you'll see that come out pretty soon for the winners of round 6 who have mobility solutions for COVID-19 challenges, and then it'll be out publicly a few weeks after that. So it was very rewarding to read through everyone's hard work that they put into the applications to see how they can improve people's lives here in Michigan through their mobility solutions at a time when there's so many challenges and such a big crisis in front of us.
That's great. Catherine, I hesitate to call that a stall because it was really good information, and I'm glad we got it out there. But it was just the right amount of time to allow us to get Mark on.
So good. See you soon.
That. And with that, Mark, can you hear me? It looks like we've got video on Mark. Waiting for audio. Mark, are you able to hear me? Looks like we're still working on some of the details of getting Mark's audio.
Hey. Sorry about this.
No problem. Hey, the mobility meetups have always been, more of a relaxed atmosphere. So any way we can have you.
I can tell you, Devin, I am not relaxed right now. So, but I am glad that it's all worked out and I am here. So sorry about that, everyone.
Not a problem. Works out perfectly. So let's get right into the discussion. So first off, how are things going with your group in the city? How is your team handling this new reality?
Sure. So the first weeks for us and the first weeks for pretty much everybody were very chaotic because it was just a lot of new challenges popping up all the time, and it was very reactive. It wasn't like traditionally where we all spend months working on our own projects and then going through all the bureaucracy that happens in government. It was like, here's the challenge, get something up and running in 24 hours. And while the stress and the hours were much higher, I think you sort of saw a level across the board of just so many folks just stepping together, and just sort of the idea of silos. Everything was wiped out, and everybody was working together and building relationships. And so much of that has to do with just the mayor himself, right? The mayor's leadership and his ability to kind of see how we're going to address these things, but also pushing to get solutions up and running. So, I don't think the mayor slept for like the first 2 weeks. It just didn't seem like it. But, I'd be calling procurement people at 11 p.m. on a Sunday, right? That's just not a normal thing in the city. And they would get me what I needed in 15 minutes because everything was a priority. And, fortunately, we've been able to get through the worst and have seen a lot of improvements. You see the curves been bending. We've got capacity in hospitals. Unfortunately, sometimes we have business as usual, but there's a lot of different things still going on where we're really sort of looking at processes and saying, like, is that really the right thing to do right now? And so it's a really there's obviously we've all lost folks, and it's been a really tragic time. You sort of look back on that, but I think that it could have been a lot worse. And just sort of the overall reaction from everybody across the board, including my team, kind of obviously helped that.
Sure. So you're talking more specifically, some of the projects and initiatives that you had been working on, prior to this in January and February, and what you were thinking about. How has the pandemic kind of affected those projects and initiatives? And have you had to make any pivots yet, or have you already made some pivots in terms of strategy for those?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much nothing got done for 6 to 8 weeks that we were working on because everything kind of got focused on COVID response. So like these last few weeks have been just sort of like remembering what we were working on. You know, but unfortunately, I think a lot of the stuff that we were working on or had worked on sort of allowed us to move really quickly on things like getting taxi service up for the testing site, right? Like we were able to kind of work through operational details of getting a new transportation service up in a week, which is just not a normal procedure. You know, we did have one project in the pipeline with micromobility. Of what we were thinking about doing was providing e-bikes and scooters to folks returning to the workforce that struggle with transportation, to see, you know, what kind of impact that would be to have a personally owned vehicle, and how does it impact their ability to get to work, but then also, you know, get to other aspects of life. We've pivoted that towards just focusing on essential employees. So hopefully in the next week or so, got a partnership we'll be announcing with Numo, Spin, and GM to provide a few hundred scooters and a few hundred e-bikes. So we're going to probably start with the DMC and Henry Ford folks. Maybe they can expand to the Meyer. But, you know, our funder, which is Numo, they were really on board and great of just flexing the money as well. And, you know, now I think that'll be the next step, right? To see, you know, some of the projects we have that might have been reliant on different people coming back to work or different activities that probably aren't going to happen, you know, this summer at the earliest, and how they're affected. Because I think that, you know, a company like that might have been struggling with how do we park all these people. It's not their number one problem right now, right? Like right now, their problem is, you know, how do we do work from home? So, you know, I think we'll continue to pivot. There's a new normal, and, you know, figuring out how transit's going to work for the next year plus, how, you know, what the supply for Lyft and Uber are going to be. Like there's a lot of things that the need for social distancing, the need for cleaning are going to have a huge impact on that we need to figure out.
Sure. You know, given that we work with and talk with a lot of entrepreneurs and startup companies, one of the things I've been seeing or hearing actually a lot is that, you know, if there is a silver lining, it's maybe that we can lean on some of these really innovative startup companies and innovative, you know, new tech companies to create solutions, you know, create kind of bridges to where we're going in terms of technology and how it helps with what we're looking to do, social distance, reducing contact, things like that. Either specifically or in general, have you started to see from startup companies that innovation in terms of creating opportunities and to kind of assist with this new reality we're moving towards?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely new problems to solve, and you know, I think, you know, we've been talking with Dirk just on the idea of how do we use AI to monitor social distancing and monitor anything from like, are people still touching a pedestrian button to, or is there not enough space on the sidewalk? So, you know, I think that there's lots of opportunities in AI. You know, we announced a partnership with Honda this week. Hopefully we'll have a few more partnerships coming up to create separation in a vehicle, right? Like I think that's going to be a challenge for all sorts of companies. You know, we're doing it just for getting folks to a testing site, but, you know, I'm not sure how many people are going to feel comfortable getting in a Lyft or an Uber without knowing that, you know, you're going to be safe in that vehicle. I definitely feel like the idea around, you know, improving delivery is a big piece, and whether you're sort of focused on, we're working with Zalon right now on a curbside project with some of the delivery platforms to, the actual autonomous robot delivery devices. I think sort of delivering stuff is going to be out there as well. So, I mean, I don't want to comment on sort of like what the industry is thinking and like how they're going to be advancing some of the things that they've been working on, but I definitely think that there are opportunities to innovate around new challenges, as well as one of the challenges is we just don't have as much staff, right? Like, I mean, we've had to cut back, and almost all governments are going to have to cut back. So the ability to use things like machine learning to help us better action on different items, I think are really, really important.
So, you mentioned one of the things that a lot of people are thinking of when you think of how is transportation going to change. One of the biggest being rideshare. It was becoming so prevalent, and now you can kind of envision how that's going to have to change in terms of less contact, maybe some kind of shielding between driver and passenger. Let's look a little bit ahead, and we'll start with kind of the short term. The 3 to 6 months. What are some things that you see changing in transportation? We can talk locally, or you can talk big picture, but really, what are those kind of 3 to 6 month changes that you're going to see kind of immediately happen in terms of local transportation?
Well, I mean, I think a lot more people are going to be driving, right? To just do trips. If they were taking the bus or sort of taking Uber and Lyft, they're probably going to drive themselves. I think we're starting to see it a little bit, but I think you're seeing a lot of those other cities. There's a lot more biking going on. If you own a bike shop, you're probably in a pretty good position for this summer, because folks are going to be looking to get around that way. And I do think I don't think that the idea of sort of the shared vehicle is just going to stop. But I think there's going to be need to have innovations in there so that you've got the protection, you've got cleaning. I think that's another piece. But I think just in general, like, a lot of people just are going to stay in their much smaller radius than they typically would. And there's going to continue to be a big demand to do more deliveries, whether that's from groceries, whether that's from retail. And I think that the challenges right now is just the labor pool on that piece, on how many people are willing to do that. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be a struggle. I mean, but then you look at places like Taipei, right, who, like, business as usual over there. You look at how their subway is functioning, and they take temperatures, and that's the big difference. But otherwise people are getting on and sort of moving on. So I think that we've tried to respond quickly, particularly on transit, on just making sure everybody has PPE and everyone's wearing a mask. And we'll keep learning as part of this, but I think we're going to probably play it safe when it comes to transit itself. But I mean, even look at we've been talking with May a little bit. I don't want to sort of speak for them, but I mean, they've been trying to figure out, like, how do they transport folks in this place? Where they had everybody was very close together. Even if you look at a vehicle like what Cruise came out, where everybody's facing each other, you're all sitting right there breathing the same air. So I think that there's innovations that are always possible, I think, right now, on sort of the social distancing piece, as well as the cleaning piece as well. Right now we're paying a lot of money to clean our buses and clean our taxis and everything. Sort of the idea of how you can make that a little bit more affordable, I think, is a big opportunity.
Sure. And then the second part of that, of course, is not to play Nostradamus, but a year out, do you see a return to what we would consider normalcy, or do you think that some of these innovations that were already kind of being worked on or in their infancy are going to speed up what we see in terms of next generation transportation and mobility?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that you're seeing a lot of challenges with VC-funded companies. Line laid off 13%, Lyft laid off 20%, Uber laid off 13%. Uber basically acquired Lime today. So I think that companies that can be long, right, will still be here, right, and they'll be the ones. I mean, I think that's where we'll see. I mean, with regards to scooters, Lime and Bird, they're just coming back. They've been gone for 2 months, where Spin was able to be here and really be a great partner with us. So I think you're going to see a lot of there's going to be a lot of volatility, and even for us, right? Like we had been working with the Maven team for 18 months on a few different projects, and fortunately during this they had to close their doors. So I think it's going to be tough to sort of predict what's going to be here and what's able to make it, since there's just so many unknowns. I don't think it necessarily sort of slows us down with regards to being able to try some stuff, see what's working, because I don't think, end of the day, we're still going to have ride-hailing companies one day. We're still going to have micro-mobility companies. It might be different companies. I'm sure that there's lots of people with money out there who are figuring, like, how can I be the V2 of scooters or V2 of car share and get this right, learn all the lessons that have been out there. So I'm sure that there will be new companies popping up once people have reliability of that there's not going to be giant shutdowns again.
Sure. Well, hope it'll be a volatile time. Hopefully, also a time that presents some interesting opportunities and some opportunities for innovation to happen. What I want to do now is move. We've got some audience questions. Some people that have some things they want to ask Mark. Nothing too hard hitting, so don't worry. But I'm gonna toss it over to my esteemed colleague Kate Partington from PlanetM, who's going to facilitate the Q&A.
All right, thank you, Devin. Hi, Mark. It's good to see you virtually, nonetheless. If anyone in the audience still wants to submit some questions, please do. We're going to get through as many as we can. So let's start off with Mark. What does bike share usage look like? Has it increased like it has in New York City?
No, it has decreased a bit, and I think that we did offer some monthly access passes, but you look at it and there's just not as much movement period downtown and greater Midtown. I think we're still hopefully on track to do the expansion of MoGo this summer. I think that also the weather's been terrible. Right. There was a nice 70-degree day, and the last week was good. But there was a streak in there which was just gray and 45. So I'm pretty confident that once the weather starts to turn, we get the expansion up and running. It's going to be a great option for a lot of folks. And the MoGo team's done a great job with regards to cleaning facilities, even up to now. So that's going to be a big piece of it. But yeah, I think it's going to be a great option for folks to be able to get around now and in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Someone asked, what would a divider in a car look like? Plastic, like we see at checkout stands at the grocery store?
I have no idea. So I've had lots of conversations about this concept. The Honda donated 10 Odysseys to us with their updated vehicle, and I might be wrong, a polycarbonate, I believe but it's a type of plastic. We've talked to other folks with some sort of plastic. We've talked to people about like a strong shower curtain type device. But I definitely think that there's lots of opportunities to say, like, what can you do that's affordable? What can you do that's temporary? What can you do that kind of gives that both perceived and actual idea of protection? But I'm not an automotive engineer.
Right. Someone has the answer. Okay. Someone asked, what type of data is being used to measure the impacts you're seeing and the actions to take moving forward?
Sure. So, I think that, the big piece that we're looking at essentially, testing has been sort of at the forefront of the overall strategy from the mayor. And, we've been, weeks ago, I remember when I was still going into the office for meetings, where, the mayor was, really focused on getting a lot of tests up and running. If you kind of, he does a daily press conference every day. It's very, very entertaining, but he brings out all the data with regards to, how many people have passed, how many new cases we have. You can see that what we've been doing have really begun to bend the curve. for us, the transportation service that we provide. So we stood up a service about a week after our testing site was up and running to basically allow anyone in the city to that couldn't get a ride to the drive-through facility a ride to get them there. We wanted to make sure everybody in the city had access to the testing facility. So you call up, you book your appointment, you can book a ride. It's $2. If you don't have the $2, we waive the fee, and it gets you through. We're doing about 50 trips a day now on that service. And right now we're doing about 1,200 tests a day at the state fairgrounds. And it's continues to, the service itself is increasing a bit. So, those are the numbers we're really focused on now. It's basically just that piece on saying, like, how are we doing? And, everybody that's come back to work this week is required to go through a test. We've made the testing open to all essential employees. I think, this is going to continue as offices open up. People are going to require tests. So, testing is going to be the big piece of how the city opens up again.
Yeah. I think you've touched on this just based on the questions you've already answered, but someone asked, what are the city of Detroit's mobility priorities as of today?
Still trying to figure that out. I mean, because, it's not, we want people to be safe and not be out making trips that they don't need to be making. Whereas 6 weeks ago, it was like, how do we get as many options out? We were talking about expanding bus service, all these different types of things. So that's really what we're beginning to kind of pull back into and saying, like, what's the next year going to look like? We've been talking everything of, like, how do we provide more space for restaurants, to how do we reduce cash payments on VDOT, just things that, we can do to make sure that people who need to get places can get there, as well as, like, how do we increase economic development in this time. I think that, we're obviously still interested in how we can help advance the conversation around mobility, whether that's autonomous, whether that's connected, whether that's startups using data. I think we still have a lot of things that we've kind of pivoted some of those projects, but I think that'll be that part isn't really going away.
Yeah, so on that same note, with autonomous technologies, do you think to this whole pandemic and public health crisis that people will be more open to autonomous technologies than they were previously?
Great question. I'm not sure, like, how people will feel. It's sort of, I do think that, like, we've clearly elevated some challenges that autonomous can really address, and whether that's getting people to places, getting things to people, being able to provide protection and security in a vehicle. Right now it's from a pandemic, but in the future that might be a different, as well as, like, how do you clean a vehicle, right? Like, if we were running an autonomous taxi service, we'd still have to be doing the same, if we had our taxis and they were autonomous vehicles, we'd still be needing to clean them after every single trip right now. So I definitely think that, the service we're running is a good proxy for, what other challenges can be addressed by autonomous.
Yeah. Okay, someone asked, how has the city approached equity in transportation during the pandemic?
Well, I think that what we've done is really just focus, a number of different ways. So, I think that the testing piece, by making a transportation service that is either $2 or free for everybody, I think we really wanted to make sure that everyone had access to testing, and that was a really important piece. We also, you don't have to have insurance, you don't have to have a doctor, you can just, the appointment, the testing is free. We wanted to make testing obviously available to everyone. And one of the challenges we've seen as we've reduced DDOT service is, the buses aren't running the same frequency, and it's up to the operator to say when they feel like the bus has too many people in it or has enough people in it that they're not going to pick anyone up. So, you could be waiting for the bus for 45 minutes, it comes and it goes past you. So we're working on some programs to help support, those types of cases so that, people aren't just, like, literally not able to get where they want to go. And this is going to be something we're going to have to keep keep figuring out. You know, we're going to probably start making some changes to the DDOT service, so we're adding some buses where they might be needed. So, you know, again, we reacted. Now we're learning. We'll be adding on some things moving forward.
Yeah. All right. Looks like we just have a couple minutes left. But someone asked, with a recent New York Times article about people with disabilities being left behind as public busing and other transportation options become more limited, is the city of Detroit helping address this for a population with mobility disabilities?
Well, I mean, again, I can talk to you about what we're doing right now, like what we've been doing over the last few months. So we made sure that all the transportation services had accessible vehicles. We waived the fee for anyone who needed an accessible vehicle. We also are paying the companies more money to when they have those trips, just because there is a larger level of personal contact. So we want to make sure that those folks are served in a good way. You know, additionally, we've if folks with accessibility needs need to use the bus, they still get in the front door. Everyone else gets on the rear door. We added surgical masks to the front of the bus so that when people enter the front of the bus, you know, they can have access to those. We've had a few meetings with a group of folks that are representing accessibility needs. It's something that we changed our website language because it needed to be a little bit better. So it's something we're in constant conversation with the folks who are really the experts in this space.
Yeah, no, that's all really important work, and it's, you know, great to hear that the city takes all of that into consideration. Someone asked, has there been any consideration for portable UV disinfection solutions for improved cleaning processes? I'm assuming this is on like city buses and rideshare.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've taken a few phone calls. You know, again, this has been just sort of like chaotic and getting it up and running. I know New York City MTA is trying something with UV this week. They're starting something up with a few subway cars and a few buses. So I've told them to call me once they figure out what they're doing. You know, I do think, you know, these last few weeks have not necessarily been a time to really try new things, right? Because gotta be right. We need tried true solutions, we know. But I do think that, you know, as we sort of all now have some time to breathe, we'll be able to try some new things, like a solution like that, to say, does this do this better? Does this do this more affordably? Things like that.
All right. Well, that looks like all the time we have. I want to thank you again so much, Mark, for joining us, and for everybody for tuning in. I will now pass it back to my colleague, Catherine Snorson from the PlanetM team. So thanks again, Mark. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks again, Mark. All right, I'll give everyone a layout of how the rest of the session is going to go. And Mark, if you want to make sure you turn off your video as well. Perfect. Okay, great. So this is a little bit of an intermission right now. If you want to, like Devin said, it's pretty casual. If you want to go grab a drink, take a quick break. We're trying to make this feel like the mobility meetups that everyone knows and loves that PlanetM hosts. So right now, because we want to encourage networking, we are going to put a poll on the screen. So Jeff, if you want to do that really quickly. So if you want to share your contact information after the call, please just select yes here, and we will do that. So we'll give everyone a few minutes, and you'll see this on the screen for the next few minutes. Okay, Jeff, do you see answers coming in? Are people able to click yes or no?
We have 66% of the people voted so far.
That's great. That's great. All right, we'll give it another few seconds to see if anyone else wants to respond. I should have waiting music during this next time. Okay. All right, sounds good. Well, thank you, everyone. And if you missed the poll, please email any of us on the call and we're happy to include your contact information as well, or feel free to use the question feature as well to message Kate. So with that, Jeff, can I hand it over to you to explain the hand raising feature for the next few sections?
Sure thing. So, all right, so in this next section, we're going to use the hand raising feature. You should see a hand icon on your GoToWebinar control panel. You press the hand to raise it, and if you decide you don't want to ask a question, you press it again to lower it. We will call on you one by one, and we will unmute your mic, and you will be able to speak. If you should see a red icon for your mic, that means you're muted. When it turns green, that means you're unmuted. And that is how you do that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeff. All right, so this section is going to be a little bit different. If you are a mobility company and you want to talk to the audience for about a minute, we're trying to keep it short so we can give more people the opportunity. We're going to have about 10 companies. Please select that raise hand feature, and I will work with Jeff to unmute you, and you'll come on the line to give your name, your company, a little bit of an overview about your mobility company, and then you can end it if you want with any kind of request or ask for the group, because again, we're trying to encourage networking and make sure people connect during and after the call. So again, if you want to come on the line, there's no video, I promise, low pressure, just audio. Just select raise your hand. So Jeff, it looks like, so I'm going to organize by the hand feature here. We have, looks like Jeremy was the first one to raise his hand. Is it possible to unmute him?
All right, Jeremy, you are self-muted, so you have to hit your microphone icon.
There you go. Can you hear me? Great. Hey everyone, this is Jeremy Ogolnik from Haas Alert. We're actually a Chicago-based company. We were part of the 2016 cohort for Techstars Mobility. So have a strong connection to Detroit and to Michigan. We have a connected safety service that integrates into connected and autonomous vehicles. Whenever those vehicles are nearby, responding emergency vehicles, tow trucks, construction vehicles, any vehicle that uses a light or a siren to get drivers' attention, we know that we have the real-time location of those vehicles, and we can push safety alerts into connected and autonomous vehicles. So I'm looking forward to talking to folks who have some type of driver-facing or in-vehicle type of application that would be looking to take that type of safety data into your experience.
That's great. Thanks, Jeremy, so much. All right, if you can mute yourself, that would be great. And then, Jeff, it looks like we have Nicholas. If you can unmute him.
All right, Nicholas, you need to unmute yourself.
There we go. Okay, I think I'm unmuted now.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicholas Rambus. I'm the CEO of a group called Halite, H-I-L-I-T-E, brand new, founded just at the beginning of April. And we are a safety connected vehicle data company. So we're in the process of building a data exchange with the idea of sharing anonymized vehicle safety information across the industry so that organizations can build better ADAS and autonomous features moving forward. So very excited to be based in Detroit and growing again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nicholas. All right, Jeff, looks like we have Chris Bowers. Okay.
Great. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So my name is Chris Bowers. I'm the CEO of CMB Automotive Marketing, and I'm actually calling you from the UK at the moment. And I run a marketing and communications company who specialize in automotive and new mobility technology. We have a small office in Troy, Michigan, and we do a lot of work in the US. And we're really here to try and connect with US companies who might want to take a look at expanding their operations and promoting their businesses throughout either the UK or mainland Europe. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that we do. And if anybody's looking at going international, that's a specialty of ours.
That's great. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us from the UK. I know it's probably pretty late there. All right, Jeff, we have Bilal next.
I just lost it.
Maybe.
All right, there you go.
Okay.
Bilal, you may have to unmute yourself.
All right, I don't see his or her hand still raised, so maybe we'll move on to the next person, unless they're unmuted. Okay.
They're unmuted, but I don't hear them.
Maybe not. Okay, Jeff, let's move on to Rachel next. Can you unmute her, please?
Okay.
Great. Rachel, you're up.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel, and I work for a company called Phoenix Mobility Rising, and we're technically a nonprofit. We're kind of an outlier because we do a lot of mobility as a service programming, and I'm currently working on a project with AARP, and it's called the Ride at 50 Plus program, and it was supposed to launch in April 1 in Washtenaw County, but of course, a lot of things have changed with our timeline because of the COVID pandemic, but this program aims to seek the transportation needs of seniors, and it will eventually include a booking platform that individuals themselves or organizations that work with clients can book rides for their consumers independently. And at this moment, I'm just trying to connect with people in the Washtenaw County community in particular, but also elsewhere, and just to see if there's anyone who's interested in learning more about the program and potentially collaborating. And this includes other transportation providers, social service agencies, and just anyone who is an interested advocate in the transportation needs of seniors in particular.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. Next up, we have Janet Maxwell.
Hi, everybody. My name is Janet Maxwell. I'm with a company called Daikin America. We're a part of Daikin Industries, which is a Japanese fluorochemical company. We're increasing our brand in automotive. We've been in there for about 20 years, but with the changes with CASE, a lot of our fluoro materials are helping make new things happen for ADAS sensors and other interior portions of the vehicle. So if you guys have any needs, we'd love to discuss further with you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Janet. All right, Terrence.
Go ahead, Terrence.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was multitasking. My name is Terrence Hicks. I'm the managing principal for Metro Strategies. It's a workforce, community engagement, and drone pilot for construction, mostly company. However, we've partnered with a company to produce a sanitizing drone. In essence, a drone that can spray sanitizer over in businesses, warehouses, assembly plants, and things of that nature. And we are at the point where we will be pushing that out, and certainly are interested in firms that may be interested in that kind of service or learning more. Once again, I did push yes on sharing my contact information. But I don't think it happened. But I think most of the principals on this call know me and know my contact information.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Terrence. All right, Jim, you're up next.
Go ahead, Jim.
Good afternoon, and that's my buddy Terrence, who just gave me a little bit of an intro. My name's Jim Finley with Skypersonic out of Troy, Michigan. I'm the Director of Business Development. We are a provider of indoor inspection caged drones, typically for monitoring and inspecting critical infrastructure. However, we just recently have released a sanitizing version of that drone, as Terrence indicated. We've just established a partnership with Metro Strategies, and we're very excited about that. And we just today we went through a big announcement with the city of Turin, Italy, where the mayor, the Italian civilian aviation authority, and the head of the police department were showcasing our drone for supporting sanitization in their public areas, anywhere from public transportation to parks and things like that. So we're very excited to be able to support this type of solution and help anywhere we can with the pandemic. Good to meet you, and thanks for the previous intro there, Terrence.
Wonderful. Love seeing that. Thanks, Jim. All right, Jesse, you're up next.
Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yep.
Oh, sorry about that. So yeah, I'm actually this is not a company, but my name is Jesse Halfon. I'm an attorney with Dykema, and I'm an active with the micromobility community. Written some things on the legal issues relating to new mobility technology and City Lab and some other publications. And I'm active with our local transportation group here in Ann Arbor. And I recently discovered that the bike share program they were working on for years has been looks like it's been canceled indefinitely and possibly permanently. But there's definitely buy-in. I've spoken to the city of Ypsilanti on a possible electric bike share through them. And there's several local companies that are interested. Commute, does charging stations for micromobility out of Flint, Ovatic, Pedal Cell from Chicago, Gen Z, who manufactures bikes, is in our backyard. You could source the whole thing locally, but I would have to put some of the pieces together to resurrect this. And since we have some time before, fall semester at the very earliest, I've just put the call to arms out there. You can contact me. My information is public. Again, it's Jesse Halfon at Dykema. But if anybody's interested, Spin does scooters here, but there's an opportunity for bike share or other new mobility.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Jesse. It looks like we have 3 more. Bastian, you want to go next?
Hello?
Go ahead, Bastian.
Do you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, nice. I'm Bastien Beauchamp from Important. You can reach us in important.com. We're based in Ann Arbor, but we're definitely would like to meet people in Detroit, and we're considering opening an office in Detroit. What we do, we're launching a mobile app in 2 weeks. And I'd like to speak with Jeremy and Nicholas, who presented prior. We're launching a mobile app that will protect vulnerable road users from autonomous cars and regular cars, connected cars. So how it works, it sends alerts to users, pedestrians, wheelchair, bicyclists, motorcyclists, and it's able to trigger the brakes of the car before to hit the vulnerable road user. Also, we can send drivers alerts when a motorcyclist is coming on the highway behind them, or when a bicycle is coming, when they're parked and they're about to open their doors. So that's the kind of things we're doing. It's a mobile app to protect pedestrians and vulnerable road users.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing with us. All right, Allie, do you want to go next? Or it might be Ali, sorry.
Oh.
All right, you are unmuted. Just make sure you're unmuted on your end as well. Allie or Ali? Okay. All right, let's move on to Dexter. Do you want to go next?
Hi, Catherine. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Thank you so much for hosting this. This has been phenomenal. This is Dexter Sullivan with the Michigan Mobility Institute, and I have the pleasure of serving as the lead liaison for the Mobility On-Ramp Collaborative. And we're working with many of you that are on the call and other partners across the Detroit metro area and in the state of Michigan to advance workforce development solutions and helping to employ and train the talent in our great state. And we've been having some great success lately with increasing the membership of the collaborative. If any of you are interested in learning more about that and how you could be a part of the talent workforce solutions in the mobility arena, we would love to speak with you about that.
Okay, thanks so much, Dexter. All right, looks like we just have a few more and then I'll close us out. Nishan, you want to go up next?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello? Oh, awesome. Hi, my name is Nishant. You can call me Nish. I'm the founder of Untitled Motion. And what we do is we build smart lighting products for bicyclists and scooter riders and other micromobility. And it's motion reactive and gesture reactive. So the idea is that we also have a data set that we produce through these devices that's used as ground truth for modeling the way people behave in intersections. So it's useful for anything from like self-driving cars to ADAS systems to urban planning as well. Yeah, so I'm just looking for companies to collaborate with us on the data side of that product, or rideshare companies for the actual lighting parts.
Perfect. Thanks so much. All right, we're going to close out with one more. So won't take you guys a minute over 5 o'clock. Tim Adams, do you want to unmute?
Hey everybody, Nish. I think we might be able to collaborate a little bit. My name's Tim Adams and I work with Streetlight Data. We're a big data analytic platform that takes location-based services data and it maps it to the roadway and allows transportation professionals as well as a lot of other commercial private entities to understand how people are moving. And one common theme that I heard throughout this entire meetup was pivot. And I see Streetlight as a really good resource for public agencies to identify what's happening and how should we pivot as transportation is changing and the long-term ripple effect of COVID-19. So excited to be a part of the PlanetM group and collaborate with all of you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for everyone for sharing. It was great hearing from all the different companies and already seeing the connections happen. So I'll close us out. We did have almost 150 people join us today, so it was a great group. And following this session, it was recorded today, so a link will be sent out afterwards, and it will also live on the PlanetM website. And then we'll also send out contact information for everyone who selected yes in the poll. If you were not able to get to the poll, please reach out to us and let us know. We want to make sure we share all of your contact information to get you guys connected afterwards. And like Devin said at the beginning, this is part of a virtual mobility meetup series. So if you attended today, you will be invited to future virtual mobility meetups. So please, we hope that you'll join us in the future. So thank you so much for joining us today and have a great day, everyone.